Today's show is all about daddy, and I personally love watching dads interact with their children. One Sunday during church, the little girl sitting in front of me forgot her favorite doll in the car. The family was settled and service was in full swing, but her father went outside, battled thunderstorms to get that doll. He missed the prayer service and a couple of spirituals that he might have enjoyed. When he came back into the sanctuary dripping wet and handed her her dolly, she looked at him and asked, "Daddy, what took you so long?" Anton, you were that dad. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was so tickled. But instead of being upset, you sweetly explained the delay. Jeff, I've got to ask you, is there a special bond between dads and their daughters?
Oh, no doubt about it. Most girls are daddy girls, okay? Most fathers' relationship with their daughters is different than that with their sons. There's no doubt about it.
You echo those sentiments, Anton. I could not believe you went outside in that Brooks Brothers suit. You got soaking wet, and she looked up at you like you had done something wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jeffrey. I was raised in a family of all boys, and so it's interesting to me to have a father experience with now two girls.
So how is that different for you?
Well, it's different in a lot of ways. You know, growing up in an all-male household with a very strong mom figure was very interesting, but also now being on the other side of it, being the dad and having a relationship that candidly I've been unaware of all my life, essentially, is very rewarding for me. And it helps me sort of really focus on my daughters in a very different way than I would my son.
Do the girls have different needs, Jeff? I know your daughter's grown now. She's working in the healthcare field. She's very successful. Looking back, and you've got two sons, is there a difference between daddy's girls and daddy's boys?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my experience also is I grew up a family of 4 boys and 4 girls. And I always used to complain about the treatment that girls got. As an example, girls didn't have to take out the trash. The boys did. Boys had to iron. The girls had to iron too. I was like, this isn't fair. So it's always the difference between the girls' treatment and the treatment to the fellas. So yeah, I grew up with that, and with my own kids as well. The daughters have it different. I'll just say different.
You guys don't want to say we favor the daughters. You guys are using words like different and special.
Because it is different. I mean, you love them all. You love them the same, but you love them differently. That's just the way it goes.
Now, Anton, what's the most rewarding job of being a dad?
Well, I think the most rewarding job is just really acknowledging you have a responsibility to prepare them for life, and really for a life that we can only imagine. And so really understanding what your value system is all about and really trying to pass that value system on to them and really allow them to have a childhood. I think that's the biggest challenge, but also the biggest opportunity for us.
You talk about allowing them to have a childhood. You know, we live in this information age with computers and child predators, and how important is it for daddy to kind of protect the kids and protect the family, Jeff, and keep them away from people who would essentially, like Anton was saying, with the childhood, rob them of that childhood?
Well, that's a tough question, quite frankly. There's a lot of things out there. There's information out there, as an example, on the websites that there are various things on child predators, if you want to go that route. If you want to be sure that there's things in your neighborhood you should be aware of, you certainly should. There's also you participate in sports and you just be active and you be there to acknowledge what's going on around your kids. You just want to be an active, involved parent. Rather than just send your kid to practice, you take your kid to practice and you stay there at practice, and you just do little things like that.
What are some of the smaller things that you've noticed that your kids appreciate, Anton, that you do, that you say, they really like it when I...
Well, it's a good question. I guess I would go back to what Jeffrey just said and really just showing up and being there. I know especially at school events and things of that nature, and unfortunately today, fathers being at school events is still unusual. And so to the extent that you can be there on some regular basis, I think the kids really appreciate it. And really it's a focus of what their friends tell them, because their friends see their dads participating. And so when their friends sort of reconfirm the fact that it's special, it's great for them.
Now, we're talking about friends. How important is it for dad to be friend? For dad to be my buddy? I know there's a line drawn in the sand where I am dad, but also, Jeff, you've got to be their friend.
Yeah. I kind of like the outdoors, and one of the things I like to do with my kid is take him, like last week we went golfing for the first time. Just practicing, putting, the little stuff. It's the little things you do, the little times that you spend that you might not think much of, but in your kids' eyes, they know that you care just because you were involved. Go to different sporting events, go to church together, go do and spend time time together.
Now, Anton, you've got a wife. You keep adding to the family. You just had a little baby girl a couple of weeks ago. If you had to put your finger on it, how has life changed since the kids before they got it?
Well, I think the biggest change, Sheletta, has been the fact that we have to be a lot more planful around what we do and how we schedule ourselves. And so when I talk to people, especially people who are anticipating marriage and building a family, I say one word: logistics. And helping people to understand that, all right, you have to be more planful. You need to understand that that's just a part of parenting and being an active parent, if that's what your purpose is in life, or you perceive it to be your purpose. So I think logistics is the biggest thing. I think the second thing is, I will go back to an earlier comment, is helping people to understand, your children to understand that you're preparing them for life, because that's your responsibility, because it's going to be a short window that they're at home with you and they're gone. And your ability to influence everything from that point forward is pretty much lost.
Jeff, we were talking earlier, you have two sons, two great sons, an older adult son and a younger son who I come in contact with often. Obasi, he's a great kid. Right. And how difficult is it to be, you have good kids, to be a good dad? I mean, it's got to be challenging.
Well, first thing I'd like to say is I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect parent. Parents make mistakes, kids make mistakes. So the notion of being the perfect parent, the perfect dad, I think that's a foregone conclusion. It isn't going to happen. You do the best you can. You try to do what's right, just like anything else. You try to do what's right and put some thought into what you're doing. Like you said, to prepare and try to prepare your kids for life when they're no longer with you. Just teach them the way to do what's right. Show them, and they'll be fine.
Anton Vincent and Jeffrey Lewis, thank you guys so much for being here with us on Crossroads. Happy Father's Day to you both.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
And you guys don't go anywhere. While we celebrate dads today, we can't forget the many children who are crying out for fathers to provide stability in their lives. More than half of all Africans. We start the show today on a tough topic: domestic violence. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody wants to address it. I'm guessing folks think if we sweep